So I want to tell you about a new CNET story of mine. I recently got some plastic mock-ups of the new Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. So these are non-functioning, basically hollow units, but it's the actual plastic shells the consoles themselves are going to be built into. So they're the real size and the real outer material. So of course the first thing I did was I went over to my local IKEA, which fortunately is basically walking distance from me, and I stuck the mock-ups in a Trader Joe's bag, and I went and tried them out in all of the different media furniture that I could find at IKEA. And I wanted to see, if they would fit. The Series S is very small. That's pretty likely to fit anywhere, but the Series X is pretty big and bulky and tall if you stand it up the way they show you like this. You can also turn it on its side, but either way, it's much bulkier than you might be thinking, and you want to see if it fits. So of course I went for the most popular stuff first. One of the most popular IKEA lines is the Calyx. That's these big cubes that come in different configurations, and DJs love them because vinyl records fit in them real well. Board gamers love them because you can stack all your board games in them. You really see these all over the place, and fortunately the slots in the Calyx are big enough to hold both the Series S and the Series X, and because there's no front or back to them, you can add baskets and things to them, but generally they're open-ended. You don't have to worry too much about ventilation and airflow. Another IKEA unit I really like is called a PS. It looks like a school locker, maybe PS, public school. They usually, name things after weird Swedish things, so that's probably not it. That said, I liked how the consoles fit in that, but it's a closed-off system and it's made of metal. It's got a couple of vents in the door, but I'd be a little worried about overheating with the PS, the locker-style units. They have some really traditional-looking media centers at IKEA. The Malsjo, I think I'm saying that right, is about as old-fashioned and old-school as you can get. Definitely room for both consoles in there. You want to keep the glass sliding door open. Again, you have that airflow and ventilation issue, but that seems to work fairly well. I also really like something called the Lamarp. It's again got kind of a traditional feel. There's like a beige version that looks pretty plain, but there's a green version that actually looks really cool. And again, it's got these open spaces that look like they're perfect for consoles. I got both of them to fit in this. I'm gonna have to go back later if I ever get a PlayStation 5 mock-up or the final console, which is a whole nother big crazy shape by itself, to see if that'll fit. A lot of people ask me about the Besta. There's a bunch of different types of Besta. I tried a couple, and again, you can fit the Series S in easily. The X is a little bit tighter, and you want to make sure you don't have a closed door over it. You can configure your Besta in different ways. Some people put these glass doors on them. Some people leave them open. With a console, you kind of want to leave it open. The Hemnes is another very popular series that covers a lot of different types of products, so I looked at a couple of their media centers. And again, they're very open. You can take this middle shelf out, and then you have room for the Series X as well as the Series S, which fits in much more easily, even when you have that middle shelf in there. But I think my overall favorite was the Fajalbo. And that's got this cool mid-century industrial look. It's made of wood and metal. It's got this like metal grate door, so you can put your consoles inside. And again, they both fit inside, and because the front door is a metal grate, I think you wouldn't have any ventilation issues, and that's a great way to keep your consoles semi-hidden. They're not sitting out there all the time, but you can still make sure that they don't overheat. But of course, I saved the best for last. Maybe not the best, but everyone at some point in their lives has had some lack furniture, these little very simple tables and storage units. The basic lack table that they use as a cheap TV console is literally like $15 at IKEA. And you don't have to worry about ventilation issues because there's no front, there's no back, there's actually very little to it. It's literally the cheapest piece of furniture you could ever possibly buy. And yet, I will say, Xbox fit fine on it. The Series X you may want to put on top next to your TV. The Series S slots in there very nicely. If you have less than $20 to spend, but you absolutely, positively need a new stand for your TV that'll also hold your console, I guess you can get a lack. So that's what I did with my Xbox Series X and Series S console mock-ups at IKEA. So of course now I'm waiting for the real thing to arrive so I can actually see what it's like turned on rather than just sitting in some IKEA furniture. And again, you can find pictures and prices and links to all of these over at my CNET story, which I will link below.